I actually feel like I'm moving away from all of that now. That could be a ruse, because that is something that is very hard to say goodbye to. All right, you have a new assignment page, because when I went through them, I found 4 errors. And for the assignment for next time, which is way next spring, I think March 5th or something like that, I edited it so you can be assured that the assignment is correct. All right, we're looking at we're looking at Jupiter. We're looking at positivity, at benignancy, at generosity, and all those kinds of things. And the first combination we have is for a female, and it is Jupiter in Aries in the 9th house. And Jupiter is sextile to Venus in Gemini in the 11th house. And it is square to Mercury in Cancer in the 12th house. My first sentence reads, she can be eagerly positive and daringly philosophical, and that reflects into her loving friendship and ideals of universal brotherhood, which could make her popular. All right. Eagerly positive. The eager and the positive are both Aries, but Jupiter is positive also. Daringly philosophical is Jupiter is philosophical, the 9th house is philosophical. And the daring part, again, is the Aries. The reflection is the sextile. Her loving friendship is Venus in the 11th house. And ideals of universal brotherhood, the universal part, or the ideal part of it, is the 11th house, and the brotherhood is Gemini, which could make her popular. All combinations of Jupiter and Venus seem to make one popular. Whether you're popular as a partier or just as somebody that everyone wants to be around. Do you have a sentence?
I have a sentence.
Way.
Yes. My vigorous philosophical benevolence, generous, sometimes priestly enthusiasm, supplements my dexterous or adroit loving humanism, and could be tested by an intellectual absorption in my own self-undoing, despite my attempts to build nurturing ideas about universal problems.
Excellent. Very, very excellent. Yeah, and it describes the person pretty well. Abby, you got something?
Good thing I didn't do my homework, because I couldn't compare to that.
You couldn't what?
I couldn't compare to that.
Oh, yes, you could. Got some more?
I have 5.
I mean for this combination.
This one,
Okay.
in particular.
But she may get carried away in her enthusiasm, and it might get out of hand so that she lacks temperance in writing and speaking, a trial which could be hidden. All right, anytime Jupiter is in affliction, it's likely to get carried away. The enthusiasm is Jupiter in Aries. And it might get out of hand, meaning to say that with the square there, she can't control it. She lacks temperance when Jupiter is afflicted, especially with a planet that is not one of the limiting planets like Saturn or Pluto. Jupiter tends to have no temperance at all. Writing and speaking are Mercury things. A trial is the square, and the hidden part of it is the 12th house. Mark is not here tonight. He probably caught the flu du jour. He does that every winter. So we'll have to, this is one that probably only Abby and I know who it is.
I have Jupiter and Aries in the 9th house.
Oh, yeah?
No, yeah, no.
It's
Or
Jupiter
it
in the
doesn't matter.
first house.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right. Do you have any guesses who it is? Do you read an author who writes too much?
J.K. Rowling?
No.
No.
Alice Bailey.
Oh, Alice Bailey. This is Alice Bailey.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm surprised that Julie is in on all of that. All right, the second combination we're looking at is Jupiter and Taurus in the 10th house, and just forms a simple square with the Sun in Leo in the 12th house. Our example, first example reads, concrete earthly generosity may be a test of his self-pride. He may give pleasure for the world to see and do so to prove himself. His self, which he does not see because of past accumulations. All right? That's not a really good sentence. It's got some good ideas to it, but not a good sentence. Concrete and earthly are Taurus. Generosity is Jupiter. A test of his self-pride, the test part is the square, and the self-pride is the Sun. He may give pleasure. Jupiter in Venus likes pleasure for the world to see, which would be in the 10th house, and do so to prove himself. The square is always trying to prove himself, and the Jupiter square Sun especially tries to prove self. A self which he does not see because it's obscured in the 12th house, and it's obscured by past accumulations. So you have no assignments. So you're going to get teased all night for no sentences.
Okay, but what are past character accumulations? How do you know that?
That's usually the 12th house is the accumulation of everything from the whole cycle around through all of the houses. Yeah, it's what needs to be washed away. If they're problem-solving houses, solving means solution, which means washing away with water. They relate to this. So the 4th house is the washing away of the personal problems that have occurred from the first 3 houses. Then the shared things that have developed over the next 3 houses, they're washed away or solved by the 8th house. And then the universal experiences of the 9th, 10th, and 11th are washed away by the 12th house, but the 12th house washes away accumulations from the whole cycle.
So what does it mean if the north node of your moon is in the 12th house?
I don't know. I'd have to sit down and ponder that. I can't shoot from the hip on that one. Beside, Julie's chomping at the bit. She's ready to read, and she says, I got a crackerjack sentence.
No.
That'll make that klutzy one seem like nothing.
No. I was just thinking how, like, I don't feel very generous toward Leo these days. There's reasons for that. My luxurious and benevolent self-displays are boxed in by my secret lazy pride and self.
Excellent. Very excellent. If you knew how well that described this person, you'll be surprised by it. It gets him exactly. All right. He has a big spirit from his past. There's a H missing there. Looks like I'm going to have to do even more editing. From his past, but he might struggle with a tendency to indulge his senses in society and undo himself. Big spirit is Sun square Jupiter. From the past, it's the Sun in the 12th house. He might struggle is the square with the tendency to indulge his senses, which is Jupiter in Taurus, and the society part is the 10th house, and the undoing part is the 12th house. I don't even know if he's alive anymore.
That was just going to be my question.
Anybody have any guesses who it might be? A big-time, very famous indulger. Artist.
Which variety of artist?
Paint.
Painter. Picasso. Big time indulger.
know if he was an
Is
indulger.
there a movie about him?
No, I have looked at Maria Bonham's chart, and it's an interesting chart. You know, she kept animals in her third floor apartment.
Oh no, I said a movie about him.
Oh, okay. Anybody have any guesses?
No.
He painted Campbell's soup cans.
Oh, Andy Warhol.
Yes.
Why do I
Andy
always- I was
Warhol.
thinking about him at first. I was like,
Oh.
no, it couldn't be.
See, all you have to do is trust your intuition, Abigail.
That's what my whole life is about.
Yeah.
Harder than it sounds.
Yeah, he was a world-class indulger. He and what was the photographer that did all those terrible things? Robert Mapplethorpe. We looked at a couple years ago in summer school here. We looked at Robert Mapplethorpe's chart, and it's horrendous. You know, he has the same birth date that I have, but not the same year, thank goodness. He has all the earmarks of an evil indulger. Oh, he's dead already from AIDS. All right. We are this time looking at Jupiter in Gemini in the 12th house. For some reason, I did a lot of 12th house things this time. Just came up that way. And it's sextile to Mercury in the third, which is conjunct to Saturn in the third, which is conjunct to Leo, and conjunct to Neptune in the third. Mercury is in Cancer, but the Saturn and Neptune are in Leo. So we have a big three-way sextile to a revolving conjunction. All right, I'll let you start out. You're in Aries.
Right. My wide-ranging interest in universal problems opens generously to reflect a super concentrated focus in nurturing mediations of great precision and sensitivity.
All right. She would be flattered by it. You'd probably make it as a professional astrologer, because most professional astrologers, to make it, have to flatter. But there's nothing wrong with saying things good about people, especially if they happen to have some degree of correctness. Abby, do you have one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's right. This is the He's wicked, isn't he? All right, she can make a big thing out of little thoughts, problems we all encounter, and when they are perfectly on target and communicated succinctly, they are brightly humorous. A big thing out of little thoughts are the Saturn conjoined Mercury are little thoughts, and the sextile to Jupiter, the sextile is expansive and Jupiter is expansive. Problems that we all encounter are the 12th house problems, universal problems. Everybody has them. When they are perfectly on target, and when they are perfectly on target, the perfect on targetness is a positive aspect to Saturn and Mercury, meaning they're just focused. And communicated succinctly is Saturn and Mercury again. They are brightly humorous. The bright part comes from the Leo and the Gemini, not so much from the Cancer. Judith, you've got a sentence? No, okay.
Next time.
Okay.
I mean, next class, not next
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, okay. See, I don't mean to be pushy on people, but I want to get everybody at least to try it and realize that, hey, I can do this.
Sometimes we need pushing.
It's really fun.
It is super fun. That's so relate.
Especially when you see that you've actually described somebody without even knowing it. She may do this because her punctilious mental and psychological control might produce depression, which she can incline toward jocularity to solve problems for herself and the world. This is more than just a descriptive. This is an explanatory sentence. Yes. After the next time, we're going to add sentences. We're going to add sentences to explain what's going on, and we're also going to add sentences for possible cures for what's going on or what can be done in the positive, because that way you become practical right away. The punctilious is the Mercury-Saturn. Mental and psychological control is Mercury-Saturn, but it's the psychological has to do with the Neptune. Depression is Saturn conjoined Neptune, which she can incline, which would be the sexuality, the sextile, toward jocularity. Jocular is Jupiter. To solve problems for herself and for the world. The herself problems are to some extent Cancer, and for the world it's the 12th house.
Is jocularity also Leo?
Yes, can be. But Jupiter is probably, of all of the planets, the most jocular. Mars is the jockey planet, but not the jocular.
That's me, jockey.
All right, anybody have any guesses? It's a humorist. Who has that big sense of humor that focuses on little gotchas every day.
Bette?
What?
Bette Midler?
No. It's somebody that when asked the size of a room, she says just short of the length of the cord on the vacuum cleaner.
Really?
Emma Baldwin,
No. She has electric hair.
Phyllis Diller.
Phyllis Diller.
Oh, this is Bette.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you get that sense of her that she's desperately staving off her own depression.
Right, and so that's Saturn conjunct Neptune.
Yeah.
Is that, okay.
Yeah. She doubles over when she hits on a joke.
First I was thinking of maybe Tallulah Bankhead, and then I thought Phyllis Diller. And then you said humorist.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right. If you'd have said comedian, then I'd have known it right away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Next one's a humorist too. The next one has Jupiter in Cancer in the 10th house. Sextile to the moon in Taurus in the 8th house. Ooh. And trine to Saturn in Scorpio in the 2nd house.
On the second.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. What do you have, Jewel?
Okay, well, I had for the third, because
Okay.
I was running on,
Oh, okay.
right, so, let's see, relationship, okay. My nurturing, professional joviality, sort of
Mm-hmm.
beneficent professional out in the world display.
Well, why don't you just say it, Mayudic?
Maiudic?
Yeah,
Maiudic.
yeah.
Okay. Maiudic. Is expanded in my practical and democratic protectiveness, and then perfected by my precise, frank, yet transformative, and I had communications, but I guess it would be material resources.
Yeah, okay, good. Excellent. He has a famous feel for what is funny, and he can draw on basics and hidden emotions to give large-scale perspective of the world. Famous means the 10th house. Feel is Cancer. What is funny is Jupiter. He can draw on basics, which is the moon, especially in Taurus, and hidden emotions in the 8th house for hidden things. To give a large-scale perspective of the world, the large scale comes from Jupiter. Perspective is the 10th house, and the sextile is large scale. That's a decent sentence. His humor is not based only on emotions and exaggerations, but also on a terse, deep, probing understanding of motivation and desire through which he objectifies carefully his glee. All right, the humor is Jupiter. Not only on emotions, the emotions again are Cancer, and exaggerations, which would be Jupiter, let a little loose. The terse, deep, and probing are all Saturn keywords. This is almost exact, 30 minutes away, less than half a degree away from an exact trine between Saturn and Jupiter. Understanding of motivation, the understanding is Jupiter and Saturn give the understanding by showing the whole spectrum. Motivation is Scorpio, and desire is Scorpio, and objectification is the 2nd house, and his glee is Jupiter. This is a humorist also, only in the written word.
In the written word?
Yes, in the written word. I'm probably the only one in the room that knows.
That leaves me out.
Yeah. He wrote for the New Yorker. He was an editor for the New Yorker for many years. Probably most famous for a novel called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Ah, come on, literati, we got you now.
I'm not a literati.
It's James Thurber. Yes. I like him for his Thurber's Dogs, which has put me to the floor laughing. You've read that too? Yeah. There's especially that one line that he talks about the one dog that would walk with a strange stare in its eye like it was seeing the ghost of Hamlet's father or something. Yeah. All right. We are at number 5, which means we're back to a female again, and it means we're at the 5th sign, Jupiter in Leo. And we have Jupiter in Leo and the 7th house. And it is conjoined to Pluto in Leo in the 7th house. And both of them are sextile to Neptune in the 8th house. And both of them are square to Saturn in Scorpio in the 9th house. This is somebody I don't know very well. So I'm on instruments. You have a sentence?
Yes, this is my last one.
Okay.
I specialize in expansive and powerful transformations of frou-frou for the public, reflected in my sweet sensitivity to secrets. And these aspects of my character are both tested by my intense scrutiny of higher values.
Sounds excellent. From the little that I know of the person, it's exactly on the head. Mine says she is a heartfelt, sincere power for the good, which she emanates to the public, partners, and collaborators. The heartfelt is Leo, obviously. The sincerity is Leo. Power for the good is Jupiter conjoined Pluto, which she emanates. The emanation would be the sextile to the public for the 7th house, partners and collaborators. So we're talking about an emanatory consciousness here. I gave 3 sentences this time, did it in pieces. It is a spiritual optimism that she enlarges for others, and it has a hidden effect of balancing them in their woes. The spiritual optimism is Neptune sextile Jupiter, always spiritual optimism. Which she enlarges, Jupiter enlarges, and even Pluto enlarges to some extent. And it has the hidden effect, the 8th house, of balancing them, the Libra, in their woes, indicating the kinds of things that come up from the 7th house, from the 8th house. And the final sentence is, her philosophy may be deep, but often she fights with it. There's typos in here. Often she fights with it too much. It could contain, or if she fights with it too much, it could contain her joviality in darkness. Deep philosophy, Saturn and Scorpio are both deep. But if she fights with it, meaning the square, and excessiveness, Jupiter, for too much, it could contain, again the square, her joviality in darkness. Saturn and Pluto at both ends of the square are dark planets. Anybody have any guesses? It's a comedian.
The comedian?
Mm-hmm. Bright in spirit, dark in color.
Whoopi?
Mm-hmm.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen her in anything. I've read little articles about her, like in People magazine in the dentist's office or something like
Yeah,
that.
she doesn't get seriousness.
Okay. And here we have number 6. Somebody who was a comedian but didn't intend to be. Took himself seriously. Here we have Jupiter in Virgo in the 3rd house, and it's sextile to Mars in Cancer in the 12th house. But it's square to Saturn conjoined Uranus, which are in the 5th house. Both are, Uranus is in Scorpio, Saturn is in Sagittarius. This is one that you'd want to have sentences on, because you could see almost anything and you'd be right, because this was a very speculative person. He tends to philosophize about petty things, especially expanding on emotional energy from occult sources. But he lacks good judgment and teaches things that lack perspective and proportion. That is an exact description of this man's life. The philosophization is Jupiter. Wherever Jupiter is where a person philosophizes. Petty things is Virgo. Even the 3rd house can sometimes be petty. Especially expanding on emotional energy. The emotional energy is the Mars in Cancer. And the expansion is the sextile that comes from Jupiter. From occult sources, which would be the 12th house, any of the 4th, 8th, and 12th can be occult. They deal with hidden things. But he lacks good judgment, meaning to say that Jupiter is afflicted. And especially with Saturn is it afflicted. So he lacks good judgment, and he teaches, the 5th house is teaching, Sagittarius is even teaching. He teaches things that lack perspective and proportion. The perspective is from Saturn and the proportion is from Jupiter. And when they're together, the judgment lacks both of them in the square. All right, I will give you one more sentence and then you can all guess. It should be obvious. He has an infectious emotional enthusiasm and pride that almost persuade one of his forced attempts at expressing philosophy. Infectious would be a positive quality of either the water, the germ signs of Virgo and Cancer, the ones that want to be clean all the time, but that's just a little sidelight. Emotional enthusiasm is Mars in Cancer. And pride is Jupiter sextile Mars. That almost persuade, the 3rd house is persuasion, one of his forced attempts. The forced is the Scorpio quality of just trying to jam it kind of through, and at expressing philosophy. This philosophy is the 9th house and the expression is the 5th, so he tries to force something through. Jupiter can be bombastic in that way. Does anybody have any guesses?
Not Seinfeld.
No?
What's he do?
He started out as a psychiatrist and ended up as, what would you call him, a quack, I guess. He taught masturbation therapy. He taught it to people who were very old, like in nursing home material, and said, this will get your energy flowing again. I may be the only person who knows this person. He was a student of, to begin with, of Sigmund Freud. No?
Some Johnson?
No, I don't think you know. I don't think it's in the things that you've ever read. It's not.
Is it Professor
What?
Was he a professor at some point?
He professed it too much. No, he was not a professor. He may have had some kind of things. I think he was closed down by the government. Part of his therapy, beside masturbation, was sitting inside of a box that was lined with aluminum foil or copper or something like that.
No.
There's something to some of his things, but not as much as he thought. It's Wilhelm Reich.
Oh.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's world-class humbug, I guess you could call him. The founder of orgone therapy. Org as in orgasm.
What did you call it?
Orgone therapy. The org energy. It's actually valid, what we call etheric or kundalini or life force or what, you know. He called it org energy because it was involved with. I used to get these books. I still do occasionally. People send their books to the store for me to approve of them, so I'll stock them. And there was this woman from San Diego who wrote this book. How was it? Masturbation and Enlightenment or something like that. She knew this guy that she had a fling with for about a week, and he taught her this. And he said that this exercise is you masturbate yourself to just the edge, but not into orgasm. And at that point, you take and you direct all the energy to your heart. And this is where your enlightenment comes from. And it says, if you misjudge, that's all right too. And then she came to publish her book, and her car was stolen or something like that, and she lost all of her notes. So what she did is she modified the technique and masturbated to the edge of orgasm and then directed everything to the pineal gland. And she rewrote the book in 3 days' time. It read like that too. Oh. You know what Kundalini Yoga is? It's playing with fire. It's dangerous stuff. Yes. All right. We're at just past the halfway point now. We have Jupiter in Libra, depending on your flavor, in the 9th house. And it forms a simple trine with Uranus in Gemini in the 6th house. This is another person I don't know. I've seen maybe once or twice, and it's another comedian. Joy and happiness are a way of life for me, universally expressed with style and taste, but not without a good dose of humor. Joy and happiness are Jupiter, especially if they are in a Venusian sign. A way of life is the 9th house. Universally expressed is also the 9th house. Style and taste are obviously Libra, but not without a good dose of humor, which would be the Jupiter, and even the trine to Uranus is humorous. All right, this is a second sentence. I have inventive, witty ideas that work through unusual contrasts, and my humor tends to be exaggerative, and I have a quirky way of delivering it, but none of it is heavy, only light and breezy. A funster. All right? Inventive is Uranus. Witty, Gemini. Ideas, Jupiter and Uranus together. That work, by that I mean function well, that's the trine, through unusual contrasts. Uranus is unusual, and the contrasts are Gemini. And my humor tends to be exaggerative because the Uranus seems to be stimulating the Jupiter, and that exaggerates. And I have a quirky is a good Uranus keyword, way of delivering Geminis, the delivery, but none of it is heavy, only light and breezy, saying that there's no aspects to any heavy planets, but it's all in air signs, so it's light and breezy. And so this is a funster. Anybody have any guesses?
Lily?
No?
Can we get some hints?
Sure. Began with Rowan and Martin on Laugh-In.
Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, yeah. Yeah.
It's so sexy.
Yeah. I have a Lily in these somewhere along the way. All right. Jupiter in Scorpio, magnification of sex. All right. This is Jupiter in Scorpio in the first house, and it's square to the Sun in Leo in the 10th house. I am a big personality in attitude and in physical size. One simple sentence. Big personality. Personality is first house. Jupiter, first house. Attitude means that it's together with the Sun, and in physical size, since it's the first house. Whoa, wait, I got this the other way around. I'm looking in the wrong place here. All right. Scratch those to come up for the next sentence, which is probably also Jupiter in the first house, and it is. All right. The world sees me as a bright, beaming individual, and I might be famous for my shining positivity. The world sees me, that's what I present to the world, as the first house. Bright and beaming is Jupiter. And I might be famous for my shining positivity. That's the square to the Sun. Even in an affliction, there's something shiny and bright there. 3 sentences this time. I really have made a positive person of myself, but I might be overconfident and living in notions that are constructs. I have made, the square builds or makes things, positive person. Person is the personality, the Sun is the self. And so the square between Jupiter and the Sun indicates that it's made the self. But I might be overconfident because Jupiter is in an affliction. And I might be living in notions, Jupiter is notions, that are constructs, which is what a square is. This giving personality might make me hugely sexually attractive in person, something I overdo. The giving positivity is Jupiter and the Sun. Leo is there, so that's very giving. Make me hugely sexually attractive. Anybody who gives attracts. And in Scorpio, that means a large-scale attraction in person. That means if you meet this personality, you're just attracted to them. Something I overdo, anytime Jupiter is seriously afflicted, especially something expansive like the Sun, it's likely to lead to overdoing. Yes?
So it says the world sees me, so that's the first, but could that also be, it's also the...
Yeah, that's what you present. See, you present Scorpio to the world. The world sees you as sexy too, and then you wear like engineers' caps and things like that. You're not about one that's going to wear a tutu, except maybe in a little fantasy exercise.
Very good, yes.
Yeah.
But the 10th, the moon is in the first house too, so you know it's all. But the 10th house is also what.
Yes,
So
the
they're
10th house.
working
Yes,
together, so that-
10th and first house. You're famous for your appearances.
Okay.
Anybody have any guesses who this is? It's an athlete.
Michael Jordan?
No. Michael Jordan has never been highly sexually attractive the way this person is. They both played with their tongue out of their mouth.
What's his name who did Madonna?
No, Dennis Rodman?
Yeah.
No.
He's such a freak.
Not OJ.
No.
He's an ass.
He became famous for his sexuality when he got sick.
Oh. Oh, Magic?
That's Magic Johnson.
Because
Yeah.
he's so sweet, yeah.
Yeah, he's so positive
Yeah.
about everything. You just can't help but like the guy.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're at the other Jupiter in the first. Oh, we got 3 in a row with Jupiter in the first house.
4. Oh, no, 3.
Jupiter, with the one after this is Jupiter in the first house also. Jupiter in Sagittarius in the first house, trine to the moon in Aries in the 4th house, and square to Pluto in Virgo in the 9th house. Yes, it's somebody that's born at a northern latitude just to vex Jerry. He said geometrically that doesn't fit, all right. Very simple sentence. I am a big personality in attitude and physical size. The attitude is the sign, Jupiter in Sagittarius. The physical size is the house, which is the first house. And with Jupiter there, it's big. All right. I am also positive in my emotions, which I am not shy about showing to the world, even though their root may be subconscious to me. I am positive about my emotions, positive aspect between Jupiter and the moon, the trine. Aries is positive, not shy about showing to the world, Jupiter right in the first house. And even though the root might be subconscious, meaning to say that the moon is down in the 4th and I might not be completely aware of it. All right, now let's look at the other part of the combination. This is a good idea to do. If you put together many sentences, take little ones and take little parts and put them together like Legos or something like that, and then you get the whole picture, and then you can write out a blockbuster sentence if you wanted that puts it all together. My outward expression, there's a word missing. My outward expression of joy may conflict with reactionary solemnity in matters of religion or social form with people who are powerful and petty. This describes her life. Outward expression of joy is the first house. Conflict is the square. Reactionary is Pluto. Solemnity is Pluto, and Virgo is solemn. In matters of religion, it is the 9th house, and it's conjoined the 10th house, so it is also social forms. And people who are powerful, Pluto, but petty. Who do we know that has a big bod that has been always bright and cheerful? You almost never see this person sad, but has gotten into the hair of people who try to be all too proper, like the Queen of England.
Diana?
No. She's a heavy hip mama, got them great big legs, a heavy hip mama with them great legs, big legs, like walking on hard-boiled eggs. Oh, her name is Sarah.
Really?
Sarah Ferguson, yeah.
Oh, Sarah Ferguson.
Yeah. I just like that person to pieces. And she's a good word that describes the Jupiter trine the moon in Aries for her. She's really got that plucky nature about her. Do you know what I mean? She's willing to just stick it in your face kind of quality.
So that trine between the Jupiter and the moon is plucky with Aries there?
Yes.
Okay. Fun.
It must be dreary for somebody like that to have to live with the Queen.
I have no idea who Sarah Ferguson is.
Andrew, the son of the Queen of England. Not Prince Charles, but his younger brother. He married that woman with the big hips,
The
and
red hair. She's got like
and the
strawberry
Brits
blonde.
love her. The Brits love none of the boys, but they love the women in the royal family. They love Fergie. They love Diana. Yeah.
Yeah, those boys are.
All right. This is another one that I don't know too well, but at least you're getting plenty of examples of Jupiter in the first house. This one is Jupiter in Capricorn in the first house. But it's a good way to learn astrology, just to take one after another like that. And it's sextile to Uranus in Pisces in the second house. And it's trine to the Sun in Taurus in the fifth house. So we have a very positive person here, though many people wouldn't think so. They would think this was a fearsome kind of person. All right. My outward appearance is positive, but also dignified and classy. The outward appearance is the first house. Jupiter is positive, especially with all those positive aspects backing it up. It's positive. The dignity and the classiness is from Capricorn. Jupiter in Capricorn always has a dignified way about it. I probably had in childhood that inflated my self-esteem, but kept me down to earth, practical, and dedicated to education. So here we're saying that the Jupiter in the first house is the childhood, that it inflated the self-esteem. We're talking about the trine to the Sun here, that he had parents that made him feel good about himself so that he felt he could do things. But that kept me down to earth. The trine happens between earthy signs. Practical and dedicated to education are earthy signs where the Sun is in the fifth house. I use my expansive expressions in new ways, and my progressive ideas are unprecedented with an odd and eccentric, electric objectivity. Like shocked into revolution. My expansive expressions, expansive is the Jupiter in the sextile. The expressions are from the fifth house, but it also have to do with Uranus, which is the new ways. And the Jupiter sextile Uranus means progressive ideas. Unprecedented means that they're so new that they're odd, which is Uranus, and electric with their objectivity, the objectivity being the second house. Somebody who is shockingly different. So I don't know how you describe this person. Was it one time a religious figure, became a political figure, and I think one time was even out on the streets selling drugs, and grew up through all of that. We have a school named after him in town here.
Shabazz?
You surely know.
Emerson?
No? No.
Not Malcolm.
What?
Not Shabazz.
Malcolm X.
Yeah. Is it Malcolm X?
Yeah.
Yeah, dignified and classy.
Yeah.
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 Malcolm X.
Was fearsome to a lot of people,
Right.
but he had the insight that he could, he could see through it all. Now we have one that only I know. I'm almost positive of that. But it's an interesting personality. We have Jupiter in Aquarius in the 11th house, sextile to Venus in Sagittarius and the 8th house. And it's trine to Mercury in Libra in the 6th house. And it's also trine to Pluto conjoined Neptune in the 2nd house. So we know this is a pretty long time ago. Look at that. 1, 2, 3 trines to Jupiter and a sextile. Jupiter's in a grand trine. Being genuinely loving and extremely expansive gives me a hidden love attraction that makes me widely popular and attractive because of my basic positivity. Well, I'm going to have to do more to edit these things. Genuinely loving, fixed sign of Jupiter, and in a positive aspect to Venus is genuine love. Extremely expansive Jupiter in a very expansive sign Aquarius and in a sextile gives me hidden love attraction, Venus in the 8th house, attracting. That makes me widely popular. Again, Jupiter-Venus always leads for popularity, and in this case the popularity is with friends, and attractive because of my basic positivity. Meaning to say that all those positive aspects, that this person is so positive that they're going to attract all kinds of people. Crowds of thousands, tens of thousands of people. My thoughts and ideas are seriously spiritual, but they are not somber, but rather light, airy, and fluent as the wind. The thoughts is Mercury. Ideas is Jupiter. Seriously spiritual because they're involved with the grand trine to Pluto. It would be very serious, and the spiritual part comes from Neptune. So the serious spirituality is a conjunction of Pluto and Neptune. They are not somber because of all of the light, airy qualities from the air signs, light, airy, and fluent as the wind. So that's fairly simple. I am a universal friend. I believe in spirituality furthering financial success. Another prosperity person. And I think in terms of others, expand on the idea of love as an occult force for the good. Universal friend is the combination of Jupiter in both Aquarius and the 11th house. I believe in spiritually, the belief is to Jupiter. Jupiter is the most believing of all the planets. Spiritually furthering financial success. The trines further everything, and they bring success, and in this case it would be financial success through those trines. I think in terms of others, which is Mercury in Libra, is thinking about the other person, and expand on the idea of love, Jupiter and Venus in a sextile, as an occult force for the good. Meaning a hidden force for just promoting all of the Jupiterian things. This was a person that was so positive that with her positivity even healed people. I don't know if they stayed healed, but she healed people. She did have a negative side to the Jupiter, to the Venus in the 8th house. She disappeared at one time.
Blavatsky?
No, and was supposedly had a secret love nest with someone, which is a no-no for a minister, especially a world-famous one.
Is her first name Amy?
Yes, Amy Semple McPherson. She attracted thousands and thousands. If you've ever read or seen the movie Elmer Gantry, the woman in there that Elmer Gantry hooks up with is a takeoff on Amy Semple McPherson.
Simple S-I-M.
No, S-E-M-P-L-E, and her last name Mick, M-C-P-H-E-R-S-O-N. Of the 19th century, one of the greatest products of it. She was born in 1890. All right, we're coming down to the last one. I'll give you the hint beforehand so you can be thinking about it. This man was one letter in the alphabet in the Oxford English Dictionary. I forget what it was. It might have been O, but I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying?
He was one letter.
No, the Oxford English Dictionary is the Oxford professors, the dons. 26 different dons, have 26 different letters, and they learn everything that there is to learn about that letter, and they are in charge of the definitions of that, all the definitions of that letter in the Oxford English Dictionary. I read Oxford English Dictionary word of the day, and it's a really very good. They do it. It's all literary. Shows you examples of how it's used, how a word is used in different ways. It takes a little bit too much time often, but
Pay for that
what?
one? I have dictionary.com one. Do you have to pay for that one?
No. There's Webster's word of the day and OED word of the day, and they're free. If anybody who wants, just let me know. Send me an email, and I'll send you the URLs for them. Okay. In your case, I might deliver it at midnight tonight. All right, his philosophy is a philosophy of belief that is founded in eerie higher feelings, to which he is sensitive enough to be influenced by others in positive directions. Oh, we're going to look at it, if we're going to mention the kind of, Jupiter is in Pisces in the 7th house, and it is trine to Mars in Scorpio in the 2nd, and it's sextile to the Sun in Capricorn in the 5th. Philosophy we're talking about here is Jupiter. Belief is Jupiter and Pisces both. That's a very gullible person. That is founded in eerie higher feelings, Pisces, to which he is sensitive. That means the Sun is there. Sensitive enough to be influenced by others, 7th house, in positive directions. That's all. So that first sentence is almost all just about the position of Jupiter and Pisces in the 7th house. All right. Religious sentiments are strong enough to be a passion and arouse a strong fervor which is not spent in zeal, but, oh, there's bad grammar here, but is under the reflective control of a self that is dignified, proud, and very self-respecting, which self-directs and reflects them, comma, or echoes them into expressions which are grand, vigorous, and deliberate. All right, I got some... So that's too much of a sentence. Religious sentiments are the Jupiter and Pisces again, are strong enough to be a passion, indicating the trine to Mars, indicating their very passion, and arouse a fervor. Mars trine Jupiter is also a fervor, especially in watery signs, which are not spent in zeal, but are under reflective control. I'm talking about the sextiles to the two planets in Capricorn, the two sextiles to the Sun in Capricorn. The Capricorn is controlling, and the reflective aspects from the Sun to both Mars and Jupiter indicates a reflective control, and it comes from a Sun that is dignified. This time it's the Sun that's in Capricorn. Proud, Sun sextile Mars is proud and very self-respecting. He is the Sun sextile Mars with the Sun in Capricorn. Which self, the Sun, deflects sextile or echoes the sextile, the them meaning the feelings, into expressions which are grand. Jupiter is grand, vigorous because of the Mars, and deliberate because of the Sun quality. All right, greatness in basics applied with emotional energy. Pretty obvious. Greatness is Jupiter. Basics is the 2nd house. And applied is the trine, and the emotional energy is the Mars-Jupiter trine. You would not guess this person, everybody knows this person, but you would not guess this person for their for what we've just talked about here. We would know this person because this person has a very strong trine between Neptune and Venus. And that trine between Neptune and Venus affected an entire generation, the generation of people that had Neptune in Libra. They were all affected by the writing of this person. Does anybody know what some of the characteristics of Venus trine Neptune are?
Spiritual sensitivity to love.
No, that would be a controlled fantasy.
A controlled fantasy.
Yes, this is a fantasy writer, but what is in this pattern that we looked at, it is a fantasy writer that looks at the dignity of people, even little people, looks at their dignity.
Hobbits.
Yes, like hobbits, yes, yes,
They have the O.
yeah. Yeah. Nice combination. All right. Are there any questions? Are there any proposals of marriage? This is the syllabus for next semester, as well as the the people from this time, the list of them, and the assignment for next time.
What's Jupiter trine Neptune?
Positive preservation of spiritual experiences. If it is like most people, they would have the character of preserving spiritual experiences from dreams. But the preserving the experiences that were preserved would be positive even if they were seemingly negative. It's sort of like having a dream and remembering it vividly of being roasted on a spit by demons, but that you're laughing all the way through it because it tickles, or something like that.
Especially from dreams, or not necessarily?
Usually, because most people don't have a positive clairvoyance, but it usually is the preservation of spiritual experiences that come in dreams.
Huh.
Remember, we all heard it now. She's going to bring a sentence next. Oh no, you said it, Lad, that you're going to bring a sentence next time. Good. At least one. Great.
I have a while to work on this, right?
What?
I have a while to work on
Yes, you have quite a while to